Hello, today I've got a MIDI controller. This is the Novation Remote 25 SL and it doesn't make any sounds. It's just purely a MIDI controller with lots of controls that you can assign to all sorts of things. Now this doesn't work. This is version 1. Version 2 only had one screen and had lots of LEDs around the controllers here, sort of LED rings. The version 1 had 2 screens but none of the extra visual effects. Anyway, this does not work. It only cost £5 from a car boot sale. And I've plugged in the USB, nothing works. I've plugged in 9 volts DC, nothing works, completely dead. Which is good, because that means I get to open it up and investigate what's possibly wrong with this. So I've tried the USB as in, just one of these power units. Nothing works. I'll switch it over to USB. Yeah, nothing there. And also I've got 9 volts DC here and plug that in and switch it over to that side. Nope, nothing. So as nothing lights up, I'm hoping it's going to be something just simple on the power supply. Now I have run the big Arturia Keylab 49s off one of these little USB devices, so there's no reason why it shouldn't run this thing. But I don't want to plug it directly into the computer just yet, in case there's an issue with it that feeds back to the computer. So I'm going to unscrew this and get it open and have a look around wherever the power is. Mind you, saying that, I've only just realised it takes batteries as well. But it takes 4 C-size batteries. I don't have 4 C-size batteries, so that's out of the question. Unless I just power this up with the power supply with 6 volts and see if it'll work through there. I'll just try that. Okay, I've got 6 volts coming through these crocodile clips because I haven't got any C-size batteries. So if I just try and capture that onto there, it'll probably flip off. Yeah, thought so. Okay, I'll hold it on by hand. Aha! That's a good sign. It works off batteries. Yeah. Auto map is offline, the displays are saying, and the LEDs are flashing away. So, that's a good sign. So the machine obviously works, but it's just a power problem. Yes, this thing's happening on the screen. Oh, that's good. It's not the end of the world then. So it's just a power problem with this. The 9 volt input or the USB. At least it's going to work off batteries if needs be. Or I could at least connect the adapter there directly through to the batteries and just run 6 volts into it maybe. So I'll open it up and see what the problem is. If I can find my screwdriver. Thank you. Now, I haven't undone these 6 large screws here because they are obviously what's holding the actual key bed into place. So for the time being, I've not undone those because I feel that's just holding these. So let's see if it's going to open up. Now there's bound to be a ribbon connector of some sorts. Yes, there is. So there's your controller. And you can buy just this piece on its own, I believe, without the key bed. I'll put that to one side for now because the power unit is here. That's the bit I'm interested in. So, zoom in. I can't see any physical problem on the board here, so I'm going to have to actually take it out to get a real good look at it. So that means pulling all the cables out. And I've noticed the modulation and pitch uses 2 plugs with the colour of the cables are identical. So I'm going to mark one of them so I'm not having to mess about wondering which was which when it goes back on the board, because they can go on either way. So I'll start dismantling this thing and get the board out, and then I can have a much better look at it. Right, put that to one side. Okay, closely inspecting the board here, behind the USB input, there are 3 components that's actually been blown off the circuit board. One there, and a little one just there. And I haven't got a clue what those components were. So rather than try and guess and just slam anything in there, I'm going to leave this, because even if I put the components in, if something was so bad that it's blown the components off the board, chances are it's damaged the USB controller chip here as well. So I think I'm going to do without that. I'm not going to use this on USB anyway. Hopefully the MIDI will work. So I'm just going to try and get it powered up again and just check that this thing's actually sending MIDI signals out. So I'm going to pop it all back together again, but I'm not going to bother with trying to fix this USB here, because like I say, chances are the damage has travelled further. So that's a no-no, unfortunately. Now these are very handy little tweezers, and you can just plug them directly into your multimeter here for checking surface mount components on the board. And what I've found, where the jack plugged 9 volts in is, there's a little protection diode here. And when I put it on one way, nothing. Put it on the other way, nothing. So that protection diode is dead as well. So I'm going to unsolder that. I know it's a bit difficult for you to see on the camera, isn't it? I'm going to unsolder that, take it off, and put a new one in place of it. But other than that, the other components seem to read just fine. So I think somebody's reversed the power on this and killed that little diode there, that's what its job is, really. So I'm going to change that and see if that makes any difference. Maybe I'll be able to work it off the 9 volts after that. Best ways to get these off is with one of these hot air desoldering tools. They're quite cheap now, these things. This is a Yihua, or I think that's how you pronounce it. But I think it was about £70 for this. And the thing you've got to be careful about is blowing off other components. So you just want to obviously take the one off. And the trouble is these tweezers I've got no grip, so I'm going to have to just change the tweezers. Alright, try again with some better tweezers. There you go. How easy is that? No, you can't see it on the camera, it's too small. Right, find a new one of those. Aha, right, okay. It should be okay, I think. Okay, rebuild time. I've got to put it back together to actually see if that is going to work off the 9 volt power supply now. So let's start reassembling. As I say, the USB, I'm not going to bother with the USB. I'm not going to use it anyway, so there's no point. And what I don't want is, if I do sort of put those components back in, then I plug this into my computer, it'll blow my computer up, or who knows what sort of damage it can cause. Like I say, if I'm just using 5-pinned in MIDI, that's all I'm interested in off this device anyway. So just get these back together again. I'm sort of partially surprised that those little components aren't floating around inside this case anywhere. I've given it a good shake and there's nothing sort of moving around, so somehow they work their way out of here. Even if that job isn't fixed by changing that protection diode, at least I know it works on batteries, which is fine. Ha ha ha. Excellent. Auto map is offline. Yes, I know, whatever. But yes, the thing is alive on the 9-volt power supply. So that was just that little diode that stopped that from working. Right, I'm going to check that this is actually feeding some form of MIDI, because I'm not sure if the rest of the circuit might be damaged. So I have a little MIDI analyzer box here, and all I'm going to do is find a MIDI lead like so, and just check that some MIDI is coming out of this thing first. So MIDI out. Okay, and this goes to, I'm tying all the cables up already. This goes to MIDI in, turn it on. Yeah, I don't know if you can, probably can't see in the camera, but there's a lot of information across these two screens here. And I'm getting note on, note off. I'm getting the pitch wheel and control change, and this control change for the touchpad. So yes, it's doing something. How's about I find something that is actually going to make a noise and plug this into it and see if these keys are going to do something. But other than that, it looks like it's actually up and working. So I think I better put in the last few screws first. Okay, I've got the MIDI coming out of this, the traditional 5-pinned in MIDI, going into the Roland MC505 up there, and I'm just using that as a sound source for this really, and everything seems to be working just as I want it to. It's the Roland MC505 you're actually listening to. I've just chosen one of the instruments on there, and yeah, it's doing what I want it to do. So there you go. For the sake of tiny little diode there, but unfortunately I couldn't fix the USB. In a way, I wasn't too sure about what the components were that used to live there anyway, and I couldn't find anything online. There was no schematic diagrams that would show me the actual pieces that were missing there. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to use the USB on this anyway. This is just for a sort of MIDI controller, basically. So for £5, easy fix really. If you find that useful, please give us a thumbs up, and another video on the way very soon. All the best. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.